Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my shopping live stream where we go online together and look for deals on photography gear and accessories. And also, it's just a normal photo chat, so it'll be an open Q&A as well. If you have any questions about photography or cameras, gear, things like that, I'll do my best to answer them. It's always good to see everyone every week. I see Jeff is here and Erna and Robert. Good to see you, and Intrigue. Good to see you. Um, Anyhow, so I did find some good deals today, and like I said, these things kind of go on rotation. Uh, you know, Sometimes it'll be the memory card, sometimes it'll be filters, and when it's filters, it might be in different ring sizes, and sometimes it's a camera bag or tripod. And I have links down below to what I thought were kind of the best deals for today, and also I have my deals page, robtrek.com/deals, where I post, some of my favorite things and what I think are really good deals. Sometimes they're not always on sale, but it's still a really good deal, and I'll show you a couple of those as well, and things that I want to, things that I bought. A lot of these things I bought myself, but a lot of things are sight unseen, so I'm just using my best judgment on what I think the quality of the product is versus the price, because there's always a relationship there, right? And I always try to recommend the most affordable or best deal for certain things that, if you're just getting started in photography, it's probably a good place to start. And then if you really get into a particular genre that would require a certain accessory, then you can go for the high end stuff, because I'm not trying to say that, you know, uh, a lot of these cheap products basically are going to last a long time. These are the kind of things that they might last you a year, 2 years, maybe 5 years, and when they break or wear out, you throw them away and you get another one because they're just that cheap, right? And or that affordable. Uh, Other things, more high-end type products, uh, like a lot of times the Surae monopods, very high quality. I can recommend those really even when they're not on sale. But when they are on sale, it's even better. But they usually the high-end products I find don't go on sale as much, and when they do, they're not discounted anywhere near as much as, some of the more entry-level type products. But I've used a lot of entry-level products, $10 battery chargers, 25, $30 memory cards, and I've been using them for years and years and years, no problems. Backpacks, camera bags, tripods, these things are just fine. If you take care when you're using them, they'll last you a long time and get the job done. But I don't want to, mislead anyone to tell you that these, $50 to $100 items are anywhere near as good as, say, a $300 or 500 or 1,000, because it can get expensive. It's an expensive hobby we're in, isn't it? But anyhow, oh hey, Roberto's in here. Good to see you. And I see Erna's already have a question as usual. Do you know if OM1 is hard and firm? Will it break if accident? Oh yeah, yeah. The OM1 is fine. Uh, it's got the same build quality as the M1 did, if not better. But let's just say it's the same. And I have not dropped my OM1, fingers crossed, but I have dropped my EM1 Mark II and Mark III plenty of times. I'm much more careful now, but, and, I mean, I wouldn't say that if you dropped it on, 6 feet or 2 meters onto concrete that it won't break, but I have dropped it onto, you know, dry ground, relatively hard, but not concrete. From the tripod, like the tripod fell over and the camera hit the ground, and it's been fine. And I've dropped many other Olympus cameras. Like I know my Pen F, I did drop that on concrete about this high, about 4 feet on the concrete, and now it's got a little chip in the bottom corner, but it still works fine. So, they're generally Olympus and OM system cameras are very highly regarded for their durability and other seals. So it's going to be as good, if not better, than any other camera system out there. So I wouldn't worry about it. But always take care. Always take care of your stuff when you can. Okay, so let me go to uh, my deal page. We'll get a few things out of the way, and then and do some normal Q&A and talk about some stuff I did this week. Uh, okay, if I can. Okay, so this is my deal page, robtrek.com/deals. Brings you up to this. And OWC SD cards, these are V60 cards. These are all you want to put in your OM1, OM3, EM1, any any Olympus and OM system camera that can use UHS2 cards. You don't need to spend 3 times as much for a V90 card. These are V60s, and they're more than fast enough for the cameras. Putting a V90 card in will not make the camera perform any faster. It won't flush the buffers any faster. Uh, so I always recommend get the V60 cards. If you're using, say, a different camera brand like a Sony A6700 or A7R5, these cameras that have very high bit rate, Panasonics, extremely high bit rate video, in those situations, a V90 card may be necessary to take advantage of the high bit rate videos. Um, but I don't think that applies to 99% of us, right? We're mainly primarily photographers, and these cards, these OWCs are very high quality. Um, they come very highly recommended times, and a lot of times manufacturers will certify OWC for use in their cameras. I'm sure they have a list somewhere on the site, but I've bought this card uh, personally myself. I bought the 256 card. Gosh, has it been a year and a half already? Time flies. I bought the 256 card. No, yeah, it was this one actually. Yeah, back in 2023, and it's been working flawlessly. And $40. This is a really good deal. The cheapest I've ever seen a quality 256 gig card. Quality meaning like SanDisk or I promote a lot of times the PNY memory cards. The cheapest I've ever seen them is like 36 or $37. So to get this at, basically $3 more, this is still a really excellent deal, even though it's technically not on sale. But if you look at the past, excuse me, past pricing, if you look at this chart, you can see as recently as January, February, this card was selling for $64. But they dropped the price on this card without putting it on sale. So this is a little bit harder one to find a deal on, but I found it, and this is a really good deal. So this is the 256 gig card. I don't know why they have the 64 gig picture here, but this is an excellent card, and they come in various sizes. They're all at a good price. The 128 is $25. I think if you're not doing video, the 128 is fine, but I would recommend just getting the 256. Okay. And this is primarily for people that, you're going to get better performance out of your camera with respect to specifically the buffer and write speed to your um, SD card. But, you know, the if you do like things like Pro Capture and SH1 or SH2, you definitely want to get one of these cards because you're going to be hitting your buffer constantly. You want to be able to clear your buffer quickly, and these are the cards that will do it just as fast as a card in our cameras. Because the bottleneck here is the camera, it's not the memory card. So there's no need to get a V90 card and spend 3 times as much. 256 gig E90 card, you're gonna be closer to $200, and you're not gonna see any benefit in performance, aside from the video things that I talked about. Ugreen. Ugreen is an excellent, company for power banks, chargers, and cables, and this is a really good deal. Uh, 80 bucks, you get a 25,000 milliamp with 200-watt power delivery. So, uh, I would highly recommend this. This I would say is on par with Anchor. Anchor, I would say, is the top tier. I would put Ugreen right there next to Anchor in terms of top tier. Ugreen just doesn't have quite the brand recognition of Anchor, but I would say they're every bit as good as the Anchor brand in my opinion. And the Anchor version of this, Anchor has the same exact thing, but theirs they charge $140, or higher. Sometimes it goes on sale for $100. On Black Friday, I've seen the Anchor one go down to about $75, but it's not on sale quite as often as Ugreen. Ugreen is consistently uh, lower price than Anchor and equal in quality, in my opinion. And these will certainly power your laptops and recharge your phones, and also run your camera for 10 hours, 12 hours, no problem. Uh, so if you do any kind of astrophotography, you're going to need one of these to run your camera overnight. If you time-lapse photography, you want to have your camera plugged in, assuming, it's one of the ones with USB-C port. This is an excellent deal. And I tend to keep one in I have one here. Well, I don't know where I put it. I just had it out yesterday for something, but I use mine, time to time, uh, to charge my cameras, to charge my phones, whatever. Batteries, I can plug my battery chargers into this, and it works great. Okay, this is a really good deal for if you shoot Nikon. So this is the older ENL 14 battery. So it's going to be more for their DSLR cameras and some of their bridge cameras. But like, I have a Nikon DF. It's the only DSLR on this list. Uh, well, let me rephrase that. The only full frame DSLR on this list that uses this battery with Nikon. 1149, and it'll charge two batteries at the same time, and it's also an SD card reader. And I like that it has a case that you can close the cover so that when you put it into your bag, you don't run the risk of a fire, for example, shorting out the batteries with some other metal objects in the bag. So it protects the batteries from exposure to other objects in your bag. So it makes it very easy to travel with and safer to travel with. And I like the little LED display that shows you the percentage. They're not 100% accurate, but close enough. I mean, if you can get up over 90% on the display, you're pretty much fully charged, and you can just start using the battery. But it will go to 100%, no problem. Uh, but it takes longer to go from 90% to 100% than it does to go from 0 to 90%. It takes almost as long to do that last 10%. Okay. This is a filter that I reviewed. I have a review of this on my channel. This is an excellent filter. It's a dual circular polarizer and ND filter into one. So check that review out if you want some of the details and how these kind of filters work in combination. But every photographer needs to have both of these items. You used to have to buy these things separately all the time, but this filter, you don't need to buy it separately. You can just buy one filter and it does it all. So I can highly recommend the filter. Very, very high quality. This is like top tier type glass. This is not entry level glass that I've recommended in the past, because you can buy something similar when it's on sale for about half price. And they're fine, but you're not going to get the best image quality. Uh, you'll see a difference when you're pixel peeping, and that's where you wanna spend the $80 versus the $40. But if you only wanna spend $40, the $40 filter is fine for 99% of your photography. But this, I would say if you want top tier, you're gonna pay double, but it's worth it. Very well made. This is the kind of filter will last you years and years. Uh, oh, speak of the devil. Here is a um, this is a five-stop ND filter. It does not have the polarizing effect, or it doesn't have the same polarizing effect as a true polarizer. It does have some polarizing effect. If you watch my video, I kind of explain that how these ND filters work. But $21, and it's a true color, right? Or I could have sworn it said true color. Yeah, here it is. This is a true color, so you're not going to get any kind of color shifting. You're always going to get some because of the nature of how polarizers and variable ND filters work. It's unavoidable, regardless of uh, cost, right? And this is a really, really good deal. And the one that's on sale now is the 62 millimeter filter thread. So this is perfect for the 12 to 40 Pro that has the 62 millimeter filter thread. So if you have that lens, this is a very good filter to get. And, if you're not doing paid professional work, I don't think there's going to be any problems because I've bought newer filters before, this brand, and the quality is fine. It's only when I pixel peep and try to start to look at the very fine hairs, like maybe the fine hairs like in your eyebrows and things, you might see just a little bit of smudginess. It's not quite as sharp as the other filter that I showed you, but it's more than good enough. It's certainly more. I could use it on a paid shoot, and client would never know the difference, but I'll know the difference, right? For landscapes and other types of things, you know, having an ND filter is very, very handy. Uh, Keeping your shutter speeds down if you need to for video, for using flash. uh, Again, to keep your camera within the sync speed for your flash, ND filters are essential, and every photographer needs one. So if you're not ready to spend $80 for a variable ND filter, this is an excellent deal, and it's a very good filter. Uh, this is a new bag that I hadn't seen before. There's a $4 coupon here as well that you need to make sure you check. So you can get this for like $26, this bag. And it's got sort of a camo type look to it, and it looks like it's basically a TPU or vinyl, but it's a nice blend of vinyl and canvas. It looks like. Let's see what the materials. Waterproof material. So yeah, it's but what stood out to me about this bag were basically two things. Is number one, if you look at the zipper section there is kind of a rubberized YKK style zipper. So it's going to be more water resistant than a lot of other bags that don't use this type of zipper. A lot of bags have sort of a cloth metal zipper to it. This has been weather sealed, the zipper itself. So water's not going to creep in there during a heavy rain. If it's a light rain, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're exposed to a heavy rain or splashes of water, this zipper is better than other bags at this price point. Most bags at this price point do not have this kind of zipper. So that was the key thing that I found about this. And I found when I look around the bag at the photos here, I like to look at the stitching, and most of the stitching is not exposed. There's a little bit of stitching here exposed in the back around the handle and around the zipper, but when I go around the bag, basically the stitching is all internalized, so it's gonna last longer, it's not gonna wear as much. Because when you have the stitching exposed, just wear and tear, the stitching can wear out, bag's just gonna fall apart. So this has very, very good stitching and, a swivel, a nice buckle here for the strap. Not all sling bags have a buckle, so this makes it very easy to take off, adjust, and also to store. Like, you can stuff the, strap inside the bag when you're not using it, and it just makes for a more tidy, packing. And, of course, it has some good pockets, and it's a decent size. Um, I would say you could fit, your, you know, m OM system type gear, micro four thirds gear, you could easily fit 3 or 4 primes in here and a 12 to 40 Pro, or fit, like, 2 primes and a flash, like a Godox V1. And, there's a nice little separate compartment for batteries, front and rear pockets so you can put, and they're very thin, but this is a good place to put your, permits and licenses, things like that, that you really should carry with you, even at, wherever you go. Like I go to a lot of state parks, and state parks require a professional license. It's only like $25 a year, but, you know, uh, that's what I like to keep in my bag in those little sleeves, so that if I ever do get approached, I've never been approached, but if I ever do, I can show that and say, did get a license to, with permission to do that. A lot of times you buy annual passes to parks. You can keep those in there. So anyhow, you get the idea. So $26, I think this is a really good value. This looks like a very good, very well-made bag. Uh, I don't see any problems with it. The quality of materials look very good. Again, this slight but and then there's also a hook on the bottom. It looks like to maybe carry a. I don't know what these hooks are for. A couple hooks on the front. They don't really. I'm guessing those are the tripod hooks. So you can hang a tripod off the bottom of it. So a small tripod will be fine on this. And let's see. Uh, this is a good deal. I have a different brand. I forget the brand that I got. Batman or something, but this is Artman. I got like a Batman or something. But these are made by the same company, right? When you see these kind of things, they just rebrand them to whatever. These are very good batteries, very good charger, USB-C charging, lithium ion, so you get a full 1.5 volt. So there's a lot of devices in electronics that if they don't see 1.5 volts coming in, they might give you a low battery warning, or they may not function at all. Like my Godox T350 flashes have a hard time with the regular NiCad batteries, especially when they start to age a little bit. After about a year, I can't really use any of my NiCad batteries in my Godox T50s. So I switched over to lithium ion, and I haven't been having any problems at all since I switched to these with my TT350s. The radio triggers that use AA batteries also can give you a low battery indicator, and you may not get the same range, but I'm 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 gradually switching over to all lithium ion battery where I can for my electronics. This is a really good um, this is really the way to go these days. And I like that this top is magnetic, so it stays closed, so it makes it very easy to travel with. It keeps the batteries separated so they're stored safely, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is and $22. This is less than I paid for my set, and I thought I got a good deal. This is a really good deal. Okay, and then if you don't need the charger, EBL is a good brand, and you can get 12 AA batteries for a little bit less. This is a pretty good deal. So I was thinking about getting this because I already have the charger. What I like about this is they include a carry case to store your batteries. And again, this is important because you don't want the contacts touching each other when you take extras to spare batteries. So I always buy cases for my batteries. Like, I have these cases for my batteries, and this set just comes with it. So if you don't have battery cases, you can just get this, and it comes with it. Of course, you'll need the charger, assuming you already have a charger. Another good deal that I found was um, this one. This is not on sale, but it has dropped in price since I looked at it. It was originally like $60, but now it's $46. Now it's $40. And this is basically a monopod gimbal, and it's really good for long telephoto lenses and doing birding and wildlife on a monopod. I bought one, I paid $60 for it, and I just missed the return window. But these things of this caliber typically sell for over $100. And uh, this one is $40, and it looks to be this is your standard ball bearing uh, gimbal head. What do they call it? They don't even call it a gimbal here, but that's what it is. Side mount tilt head. Okay, so they're not even really calling it what it is. But this looks like a really decent gimbal head for your monopod for $40. So I have no problem recommending this one, because I have something very similar from a different company that I paid $60 for. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same exact one because they look almost identical. And the one that I have for $60 has been excellent. But if you want to buy the exact one that I use, I think I still have it here on my list, probably way down here because I've had it a while. Where is it? Oh, how come it's not here anymore? Oh, here it is. This is the one that I bought. So if you're not if you feel more comfortable buying the exact one that I bought, uh, that I can vouch for personally, this is the one. It's $60, and this is every bit as good as, say, a $150 one, in my opinion. So, this is very good. Okay, and then a couple other things. I've talked about a lot of these things in the past, so I'm not gonna go over those again. Uh, this, if you're looking for a mini tabletop tripod, 20 bucks. Every other tripod this size is like $50, even on sale. It's very rare you can get one this size that has metal legs and a real metal ball head for 20 bucks. Because if we go down and we look at this one's from Newer, $41 even on sale. Now there are some differences, okay, that I'll talk about. Look at this one. K&F Concepts has a similar version, $52, 10% off, so you pay 45. Okay, this one is 20 bucks. The key difference though, what I noticed was between this one and the other ones, I think the build quality and everything is going to be pretty much the same. The main difference here is the center column. The center column does not slide up and down. It's fixed right here. So it's about 4 inches tall, it looks like. That's the only difference. So maybe that's why it's so much cheaper. But honestly, for something this small, for the intent and purposes of a tripod like this, perfectly fine. I don't care if it extends up and down or not. So I think, if you're thinking about a tabletop tripod, this is a great place to start. But If you do wanna get the ones with the center column, you can see the center column here can extend up and down. So theoretically, this is more stable, but it's so ti this is a tabletop tripod. It's not like you're trying to support, uh, do a landscape shot and you need it's not a full-size tripod where this would be more critical, the stability. The stability, because it's just so small, being that small inherently, it's gonna be more stable, on a tabletop, and you're most likely gonna be using this indoors. So, you can spend more and get this if you think you wanna have this adjustability of the center column, but in practice, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to get away with something like. And let's see, these light stands are fine. For 20 bucks, you get 2 light stands, you can't beat that. So if you're getting started with, doing, like, studio work in your kitchen or wherever, your basement, your garage, you wanna experiment a little bit, these are great light stands to get started with, 10 bucks a piece. Okay. Let's see. And then, of course, the lenses and all this is on sale. This backpack is still on sale with a $10 coupon, so it makes it $38. Then so this is a canvas style, this one is more of a vinyl, TPU style. Both of these are very good entry-level backpacks. These are the kind of backpacks will last you a couple of years, maybe longer if you don't go out every weekend, but these will be fine. And then when they wear out in a few years, you just buy another one, right? I'm gonna be reviewing a backpack here this week that's like a $260 backpack, uh, and I can show the differences, what you get for another $200. What are you getting really, right? And you do get some value. I probably wouldn't spend $260. I did buy a 200 some dollar backpack, but, I'm gonna be reviewing one that the manufacturer sent to me to talk about it. But I think for most people, backpacks like this is just fine. For $38, there's a $10 coupon. And I've never been a backpack person myself, but, I'm starting to really like it. Because they sent I've bought a backpack recently from A&F, and then Visco or VSco sent me a backpack, and so it's kind of forcing me to use one because I have to review it, but I'm starting to enjoy it, and I find it very, very practical to have a backpack to carry all the stuff that I wanna carry. A lot of times I like to go out with just a camera and 1 or 2 lenses, but I also like to go out with flashes and light stands and tripods, a lot of the times for landscape type photography, and, having a backpack is really the only way to do that comfortably. Otherwise, you got stuff hanging off you and carrying stuff in one hand, and you got a camera in the other, and then you got a sling bag, it can get a little bit unwieldy to do when you're out, like, on a hardcore adventure with lots of gear. It gets unwieldy if all you have is a small messenger or sling bag. But having a backpack is very, very practical. Okay, uh, and there's some laptops. I need to get Marco on, and we can talk about laptops one. But on my shopping page, I have a lot of different categories here, little things. I found this is new. This is another, um, waist level viewfinder, but it's made of all metal, so it costs about $25 more, but it also has a built-in bubble level, and this looks to be of a higher quality than the one that I bought that I paid like $30 for. Oh, they have a plastic one for $10? Wow. See what that looks like. Metal or plastic? I'd be curious about a $10 plastic one. But yeah, there's something to think about. Um, and of course, these close-up filters are really good. Here's another. This is more of a high-end carbon fiber tabletop tripod. Bunch of other stuff here. Just little things. That's why I call this particular page, I call it the little things that help. You can just kind of go through this and find just a bunch of little knickknacks and things. Okay. Uh, and then there's my laptops. Now, I mentioned one or two things here in the landscape page. I've been shopping a lot of different levels here, leveling bases. Because when you're doing panoramas and multi-row panoramas, it's very, very important to have your ball head perfectly level. In many cases, I recommend using fluid head. I'm still thinking about getting this for myself. Right now, I use this. I'm sorry. Well, which one is it? Yeah, I don't, well, I use something like this. Now, I'll show you. But there's a bunch of stuff. But uh, this is a really good deal. $25 for a leveling base. $35. This is a good brand. Welland or Wayland. And then Sunway Photo is probably more, not quite top tier, but you know, very good mid-level leveling base. These are more entry level, especially this one, but it'll get the job done. Another thing you need to think about is like an indexing rotator. This makes things a lot easier also for doing multi-row panoramas. You'll get much better stitching results. So, if you're interested in landscape photography, there's lots of great gear in here that will help you do that. So, L brackets and fluid heads. There's a Sunway Photo leveling base. You can see they're a lot more expensive, but these are more mid-grade, right? And here's another cheap one for $24. I like these kinds of leveling bases. I feel like I get a little more precision, uh, you know, out of these. See, this is the one that I bought last month, and I like this. $16. Man, I paid $18. Crap, even lower than what I paid for it. This is a pretty good leveling base, though. It takes longer to level the base, but I feel like it's a little more precise, and it's certainly more stable. So this is a good one. All right, and you'll need a rotator. I need to do a video on landscape photography and panorama. It's hard to kind of talk about these items individually and separately without really demonstrating what I mean. But those are the things I wanted to point out today for the deals. These are all really good deals. The stuff that I've pointed out today for all the reasons we talked about. So I'm going to go back to the chat section, and I look pink today. I think I got my other light on too strong. Let me turn that down. So um, let's see what we got going on in chat. A lot of people here. Roger stepped in. Hey, what about SanDisk? Would you recommend it? It's advertised as the best. It's fine. Yeah, SanDisk is very good, but uh, they're usually at a premium. I don't see a reason to pay more for SanDisk. There was a time when SanDisk was always top tier, still considered top tier, but I don't know if they've maintained that reputation as they have in the past. Because I keep hearing stories about problems with SanDisk, particularly like their SSDs and stuff. But that's essentially the same thing as an SD card. Uh, But I wouldn't worry. If you buy a SanDisk, you're pretty much rest assured it's gonna work fine and perform well. But I try to find alternatives to the top tier brands that are significantly less expensive and offer the same performance and quality, in my opinion. So if we look at, for example, a SanDisk, 256 GB V60, okay? Remember, the other one was $40 from OWC. Look at the SanDisk version, $88. So you're always going to pay a premium for SanDisk versus the one that I recommend. This one, it's less than half the price, and you're going to get the same performance. I've been using mine since November of 2023, no problems at all. Okay. And Roger Calamari, all gas photographers. That's right. We are. Roberto says the V60 seems just right. V90 bit full on the expensive. Yeah. So like I said, really you only need a V90 card if you look in the owner's manual and they specify V90, and that's usually only for certain video, high bit rate. Anyone else have an XT50? I know, right? You still thinking about that camera, Robert? Robert and I went to the camera store and looked at it when the GFX 100. They had a like a hands-on event, Fujifilm, and they had, of course, they had all their other cameras. Yeah, the XT50 is tempting. Um, you will not, you will not have any problems with image quality. I can tell you that because I have the XH2. Image quality is beautiful. And then Al Williams says another tip: if you are a student or educator, register with B&H and Adorama for student discount. Need to have a student ID or EDU. Yeah, discounts on some items are pretty good. Oh, that's a great tip. Thanks for sharing that. And let's see. My OM1 Mark II, I bought two SanDisks, 512 and V90 each. Yeah, totaling 1,000. That's a lot. I mean, I don't know what your requirements are, but you didn't need to get V90 cards for an OM1 Mark II. I can tell you that. The V60s would have done it. Uh, I mean, if you're within a return window, I'd say return those and get the OWC 512s. Let's see what they cost. Um, yeah, $99. So for 200 bucks instead of 1,000, because yeah, you don't need the V90s. But you know, if you're outside of your return window, you're fine. You can just keep it and just use it. You'll be fine. I would just lose my mind because I'm losing SD cards time to time. I lose them. I would, I would, I would cry if I lost a $500 SD card. Wow. I wouldn't. I'm not happy if I lose a $40 SD card, but I would really be hurting. I dropped a $500 SD card, and you have the Bat Zone version. Cool, cool. And ATR Bears here. Good morning. Good to see you. And let's see. Subayu Mandal asking, "Hi Rob, good morning. I have a question on the OM5 RC mode for Flash. What's the usefulness of it, particularly in radio mode, as it cannot work standalone without a radio capable?" That's true. I've never used RC mode because I use all Godox flashes. But yeah, the RC mode, you have to stay within the Olympus branded flashes. And OM System hasn't made any new flashes, so you have to buy the older Olympus, FL 700s, FL. They have a few that will work with the RC mode. I would just ignore it. It's not useful at all because it's not really supported anymore. I haven't even checked to see if it's available on the OM1 and the OM3. It's probably still there, but it's not much use unless you already have Olympus, flashes. And then Rob, what about the sled type mount for macro shots on the ground? Any good idea deals on those? Roger, the problem with those things, I bought one for $10 and it's fine. So let me show you that one. It's fine, but I never use it. I just never use it. Um, what you're talking about is a macro rail. The good ones are, yeah, they're expensive. But let me. I have something like this that I paid $10 for. Oh, you're not seeing what I'm seeing. So these are the macro rails. I know David Crooks bought one for $10 because I talked about it in one of my streams, and he bought one. I bought one. Uh, the one I bought for $10 looks like this, but I guarantee it's not this kind of quality. Whoops, my bad. So let's go back to. Let me see if I can find a decent one. They're expensive. Here's a $25 one. This is a good brand. This Hogue. This is certainly this only goes in one direction. One that I bought is two directions, right? Left, right, forward, back. This is only forward and back. That's a decent one. But I would probably avoid these very, very low end ones. They're kind of rickety. They don't the action of sliding forward and backward is not very smooth. So I would avoid this is a type of item that I think you should really just go ahead and get mid-level top tier type gear. I wouldn't buy a low end. I wouldn't recommend based on my experience of buying a low end one. I think this Hogue is probably the best bet. So let me go down here and see what else they recommend. Oh, this is not bad for 35. I know Sue Ray's going to be very good. Let me see what this. I think. Oh, this is not. Yeah, no, that's a nodal plate. That's different. Nodal plates aren't adjustable, meaning you loosen the knob, you slide it, then you tighten it back up. Whereas a macro rail, you can adjust and turn a knob, and it'll slide forward and backward as you're turning the knob. That's kind of the main difference. So I would probably recommend something like this to get as a minimum. Hogue is a very good brand. I've bought a couple of their things and I've not had any problems. And then of course the Sue is an excellent brand. They also have looks like the quick release clamp on here. That's like a $40 value right there. And this one has its own feet. You can use this on a table. So this will be handy if you like to scan slides uh, or film. But I like this one too. So that's where I would direct you, something like that. Uh, so let me. I don't. And with these kind of items, let's see, they don't go on sale very often. And when they do, you might get $10 off. Every little bit helps, right? But if you need one, I wouldn't wait for a sale on one. You're not gonna save that much. It's better to get it and use it than save $10, for example. So this is the, Sure Grail, and then the one from Hogue, I'll give you the link to that. Those are the 2 I would recommend. And AJ, good evening. Good to see you. And Eric is here. Hey, Eric. Oh man, sciatica. Yeah, that reminds me, I need to sit up straight. I don't want to get no sciatica. I had sciatica, God, maybe 10 years ago. And then I did all the physical therapy and all that stuff that you need to do to kind of fix, doesn't really fix it, but it does mitigate it quite a bit. I have to pay attention to my posture and all of that these days, though. And Steve is here. Good to see you. And doing some flowers with the OM3. Yeah, me too. If you guys see my Instagram, I've been doing flowers. Let's see. I did a video on Pure Raw 5, but they never gave you a discount code. Oh, is Pure Raw 5 out right now? That's cool. I'm so behind the ball, 8 ball on that. On a lot of things, really. Just these last few days, I've just been going out and shooting. I didn't, um, Peter is here. Peter, if this is Peter Blackett, I think that's the name. And for those of you that are trying to reach out to me through Facebook, um, Facebook Messenger has been flaky for about actually all month. I've been able to get it to work. I've been sending messages, like responding to messages on Facebook, and then I'll see the message again, like I didn't respond to it. And then when I try to respond again, I get this error. So, if you guys have any questions for me, don't go through Facebook. It has not been reliable lately. I don't know if you guys are getting my responses. Go through Instagram. I see those pretty regularly. And then also just email me directly. That's probably the best way, just email. But um, Facebook is just not reliable for doing messages. At least not recent. Last few weeks have been a problem. Because Peter, I don't know if it's the same, you're the same Peter or not, but there was another Peter that was like April 2nd or something, sent me a message, and I thought I replied like the next day. And then a few days ago, I saw it up on my Facebook as I didn't respond to it. Like, come on. But the short answer to your question, Peter, whether it's you or if you're here, another Peter, is Andrew Banner was the guest that I interviewed. Uh, so if you search for Andrew Banner on my channel, you will find that live stream. Okay, and Peter says, "Hello, all. What would cause someone to replace or upgrade their SD card if it fails or you lose it?" Okay, so replacing the SD card or upgrade, right? Obviously, you have to replace it if you upgrading it is, you keep running into buffer issues when you're doing photography. So if you're shooting a continuous shooting, like birds in flight is a very common thing, but any kind of sports action, or if you use Pro Capture, you get much better buffer performance. So give you an example, on my OM1 has a 94 frame buffer. And if you're shooting an SH2 at 50 frames per second, that fills up in less than 2 seconds. And then from there, uh, you're going to be shooting at the speed of the SD card. So, or you just have to wait for the buffer to clear. Especially on other cameras like the Panasonics, you have to wait for the buffer to clear before you can start shooting again. Whereas the OM systems, you can continue shooting, it just be slower. Uh, so to give an example, on the OM1, If I fill up the buffer, let's say I shoot do a 10-second burst, I fill up the buffer, it takes 15 seconds to clear the buffer using a V60 card. If you're using a V30 card, okay, a regular class 10 V30, it's going to take 45 to 50 seconds to clear. So that's a long time to wait. 15 seconds feels like forever. Sports action wildlife. If you have to wait 45, 50 seconds, then yeah, the moment's gone. The bird is already way, way out. Now, if you continue to shoot after the buffer's full, you can still maintain 6, maybe 7 frames per second with a V60 card. If your buffer's full and you have a V30 card, you're only going to get like maybe 1 or 2 frames per second burst at that point because it just cannot write to the card fast enough. So the only reason you would upgrade is if you are uh, running into situations like that. Even if you only run into that situation occasionally, then I would still recommend upgrade to the V60 because it'll be worth it, and you'll notice a overall improvement performance in the camera. Like when you're doing focus stacking and focus bracketing, all these operations will just feel a little bit snappier. But the buffer is where you'll see the biggest difference, the measurable that you can feel, right? And they're not that much more expensive than like a regular V30 256 gig card is about 20 bucks. So why not spend 40 and get the V60? It's not like you're spending 200 versus $400. We're talking about $20 versus $40. Not that much difference. Uh, Definitely not worth getting a V90, I've mentioned before, but that's why you would upgrade is primarily for to improve your how fast you can clear the buffer. Oh, there's a delivery fee. That makes sense. We're back up to like $25. So, because I got mine, I think I paid like $3 or $4 ship. Anyway, and Marco is here. Hey, Marco, good to see you. Let's see. Is Artisy's Gearhead any good? Let me take a look. Artisy or Art Size, however they want to pronounce it. Let me take a look at it real quick. I got to close about 100 windows first. Okay, this one's by Newer. I would avoid this. Okay. They even it's got really good reviews and then it has frequently returned at the same time. Those are kind of conflicting a little bit, but I've seen other reviewers talk about this particular brand is yeah, don't get it. Let's see if the art size comes up. The one from K&F Concepts is very good, but I would only pay about $130 for this. Where's the art size? Art size haircut. Let's try it that way. I'd be a little weary of this. Um, I'm just reading the reviews. I'm looking for some commonalities that I have experienced. So, all right. Okay, let me just look at the gear head, the plate design. All right, so, I would probably avoid this. Nothing stands out to me as like there's anything wrong with it, but uh I do like their ball heads. Okay. Their ball heads look really good, but gear heads are a whole different animal, right? And what is a 13-pound load? Okay. The one I would the one that I've been using for 10 years now, and no one will tell you otherwise, is General. Yeah, this is the one that I have. Holy crap, here. $175. This is the one I would recommend you get. I mean, it's yeah, you're gonna pay $40 more, but this is where I would not go cheap. The one from K&F is also very good, but they're asking the same money right now. I would buy the K&F if you can get it for 130 or less, but this one, if you spend $175, this will be the last gearhead you need to buy ever. This one I've been using on a regular basis for the last 10 years, and it is rock solid. So I'm gonna add this to my deal page, but let me give you the link. Yeah. I'm just a little bit weary of the price because the other one is so cheap. I just and a couple of the reviews were like, "Yeah, it worked, and then it broke very quickly." I know the Benro's not gonna do, 'cause it's the exact same one I own. Okay. Uh, what I'm talking. So, yeah, I'm not familiar with that kind of macro rail. Miniature saucer, we use the slide. If you're talking about a macro rail, I'm not familiar with that style. I only know the ones that slide forward and backwards. And Dave says, I agree, Rob. I forgot all about the macro slider and don't use it. Yeah. That's like 10 bucks I'll never see again. Uh, I guess a beanbag for the ground would be waterproof, of course. Yep. Oh, you're talking about, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I forget what they're called. I looked at those before for myself, but I said, I don't really get down on the ground like that very often. And when I do, it's not a big deal. But those things are made for like if you're gonna lay there for hours, or if you're gonna lay there for like half an hour or something, then I might consider getting one. But I never stay in one spot that low. But a beanbag, yeah, why not? It's just the beanbags are harder to clean, right? Because you're putting it on the ground and they get dirty. Uh, and they're not quite as easy to carry around. Because if you take a beanbag, put it on the ground, then you carry it with you. Where are you gonna put it, right? You put it back in your camera bag, you're putting all that dirt and stuff back in your camera bag or backpack. So I think the more of the plastic saucer disc type style is better if you're gonna do something like that. Okay, so Peter, that wasn't you. Okay, it was another Peter then. Last name was Blackett, I think. But yeah. And Zoltan is here. Good to see you. And Shri, good morning. Oh, hey Shri, I did get your email about the 40 to 150. So I'll start looking out for that and send you an email if I find a good deal. Oh man, sorry to hear that, Marco. Yeah, I hope you have a better day. We all have days, right, where things just they just start out bad sometimes, right? Like, I don't know. Uh the way I sort of mitigate how I'm feeling so I can start to feel a little better is I say two things, right? One is every day above ground is a good day. That always cheers me up. Like I'm still above ground, right? Number two, uh I just had in my head, if this is the worst thing that happens to me today, it's really not that bad a day. These things can get a lot worse fast, right? So those are the two things I tell myself, kind of cheer myself up. I'm like, if this is the worst thing that happens today, I'll be all right. Or every day above ground is a good day. And Eric says, when you got to play with the GFX 100 RF, how was the handling, autofocus, quality, and menus? I remember you mentioned you talk over. But then it came, but then it went to the OM3 talk. Okay, so handling was fine. The camera's smaller and lighter than I thought it would be, and it handled very much like I would imagine the X100V does. And that it has a little bit of a grip on it, which is perfect because it's kind of a big camera, so just having a little bit of a grip helps a lot. Uh, it's not like on the OM3, it's a relatively small camera, so putting a small grip on it doesn't help a whole lot. But on a big camera, putting a little bit of a grip on it helps a lot, if that makes sense. Uh, so I was really impressed with the handling. It's not pocketable, but it's not that big. Overall, it felt very comfortable in the hand and was easy to handle. The autofocus seemed fine to me. I mean, I'm a point and shoot kind of guy anyway. I'm not really, and that camera, for all intents and purposes, it's not a sports action camera. So you're going to be doing point and shoot stuff with it anyway. It's going to be more than good enough for. And the image quality looked good. 100 megapixel, what's not to like, right? And the lens seemed very sharp. Seemed very sharp, no distortion. I only had the JPEGs to look at, but they look fine to me. So if your budget allows it, I don't see any reason not to get it versus, say, the Leica Q3. It's not a Leica, but it's cheaper, and I thought the image quality was amazing, for the few shots that I got out of it. And it's just a bit pricey and it's very limited use case, right? I'm not really a fixed lens guy unless it's a fixed zoom. Like if there's a zoom on it, like my Leica Deluxe 8, I have no problem with a fixed lens camera if it has a decent zoom range. But a fixed focal length, even though you can just tap or touch, it has some button or dial on it that you can punch in to 50, 75, 85 millimeters, whatever those indexes are, and you still have a decent number of megapixels to work with after it's punched in. I don't like it. I don't like that idea. I like to always maximize the resolution as often as I can. So if I have my 60 megapixel Sony, I always want to shoot the full 60. I crop in at APS-C mode sometimes, but I don't like it. And I wouldn't like it on the X100 or this GF100, that I would that I'm punching in to get the focal length that I want, knowing that I'm giving up pixels for it. Why am I getting a 100 megapixel sensor and then chopping it all off in camera? Now that's a very technical gear way to look at it. From a photography perspective, it doesn't matter. Punch in if you need to, right? Use the lever to punch into 50 millimeters or 85 millimeters, whatever the indexes are, and get the shot that you want framed the way you want it at the field of view that you want. So from a photography standpoint, it doesn't matter, in my opinion. Uh, but from a gear standpoint, it would bother me. From a gearhead standpoint, it would bother me knowing losing the 100 megapixels. But for a lot of people, it doesn't matter. All you care about is the photography, and if that's all you care about, uh, and even at 85 millimeters, you probably still got 20 megapixels to work with, more than enough. I mean, if it was punching in where you only had 2 megapixels left, yeah, that's a problem. But this has more than enough at 85 millimeters that it will not affect your photography at all. It'll have the same dynamic range, same color science, all of that, just cropped down to 20 or 25 megapixels, whatever that is. So from a photography standpoint, don't worry about it. But yeah, I don't see any problems with that camera other than it's not for me because of its a fixed focal length. That's the only thing I can say. And Adorama has the Benro Haida HD. Let me see what that is. What is this? Maybe you meant to say HD3A. Okay. So if this is not okay, so you probably meant to say this, right? Well, if you can find it for 90 bucks, that's fine. For me, let me pull it up again. This is what we're talking about. Maybe we can find it for $90 somewhere as you were saying. This I don't like these. Uh, primarily because you don't have the kind of precision that you do with a gearhead. A gearhead, you can just kind of just turn the dial a little bit this way or this way if you need to level something. Whereas this one, you have to kind of loosen it and turn the camera and then tighten it again. That loosening and tightening, sometimes it'll shift a little bit. Even if it doesn't, let's say you can tighten this and it stays exactly where you left it, right? I don't like this action of loosening and tightening. With your gearhead, you just turn the dial just ever so slightly this way or this way, and you get something perfectly level or perfectly lined up the way you want. And then the same thing for the vertical or the the tilt. You can just tilt it down perfectly or tilt it up perfectly. Whereas this one, you're kind of you're manually doing it, right? Maybe this is good enough for whatever you're going to be using it for. But for me, uh, I have to have that precision for my architectural type stuff. A lot less frustrating than dealing with this, turning it this way, then tightening it, then turning it this way, then tightening it. Whereas a gearhead, you just turn this dial or turn this dial, and if you want to rotate it, you turn this dial. So you can dial in exactly left, right, tilt, and level. You have 3 accesses, you get very, very high precision with a gearhead. And this side towards screen, good morning, good to see you. And oh, I'm sorry. Peter said it was on Adorama. I went to B&H, but Adorama, if they have it for 90 bucks, seems like a good deal, but I wouldn't recommend that one. You'll be much happier with a gearhead than something like that, in my opinion. Uh, and there was something, how tariffs will affect camera and lens we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what tariffs are gonna do. So right now, it doesn't seem to be affecting anything, at least for the things I've looked at so far, but I have no idea. I'm not a economics guy or financial guy. I'm like, let's see if we can find a deal. I mean, if next month, if everything is double the price, I have to find a deal that's double the price. If anything, it might be a good thing to temper uh, our gas a little bit, right? Because I can get carried away sometimes. I keep finding deals and deals and deals. Like someone talked about the D810, Nikon D810. I saw it for 560 bucks. I'm like, man, that used to be my dream camera. I don't think I could handle it now because it's a bulky camera. I think I'd rather have an S1R if I'm gonna get something that size. But, yeah. But if there was 100% tariff on it, let's say it was $1,000 for a D810, I wouldn't be tempted at all. Okay. Wow, I did I catch up with the chat? I'm all caught up? That's pretty awesome. Oh, Robin's here. Good morning, Robin. For people who remember using the two-quarter Rolleiflex with that fixed 80 millimeter lens to shoot weddings for the GFX 100 RF, it probably work fine and actually be more versatile than the old Rolly. Yeah, oh, and the GFX has just a tilt screen. It doesn't flip around, so which is fine. I prefer the flip around screen, not because I'm a videographer. I just like having it fully articulated that I can put it almost any direction camera. Because I found when I'm doing like I was doing some macro flower stuff yesterday. I got my little diffuser. I found I would put the camera down this one. Let me take this off so you can see my V60 card back in. See, if this was a $500 V60 card, I'd be very upset right now. But this one I paid like $37 for. Um, I have my little macro lens, $40 on my deal page. Highly recommend this as well. But anyhow, yeah, a lot of times I'll tilt the screen down this way so it's facing up, and I'll do verticals, right, of macro like this. Is that a smudge on my lens? And there's a giant smudge. Anyway, you can't do that with a tilt screen, right? Now, some of the Fujis have it where you can tilt it up. Not quite the same. It's good solution, but it's not quite the same. I did a lot of shots vertical macros like this, where I was holding the camera up and I could look down at the image and the settings and everything like that. So I just prefer fully articulating, A lot of people, whenever they talk about fully articulating, they talk about video. But for me, I like it for photography a lot. Mainly for this particular angle is where I use it the most. And then sometimes, you know, I have the camera up high. I have it pointed down like this, straight down. Now, a lot of tilt screens, they will tilt about this much, right? When you have a normal tilt screen instead of a fully articulating, that's not enough. Because a lot of times I have the camera way up high I need it pointed all the way down flat so I can get a nice so I can see exactly what I'm shooting at the angle I'm shooting. So for me, this is a better solution for my photography, nothing to do with video. I never vlog with this. I hardly vlog at all these days. But if I did vlog, I'd probably use a, like my Insta 360 or something. I wouldn't be using a camera. I mean, why would I hold a big ass camera out like this or even on a handle? I just wouldn't do it. I would get, I would use my Insta 360 something. Okay. John Follows is here. Good to see you. And Robin Wong is here. Hi, Robin. How are you? Sorry for not dropping any recent Sundays. They were after mid. Oh, no worry, man. No worries at all. I haven't had time to drop into yours recently. I did catch it later. Actually, people are asking me about because you just did a video on. People are always asking me my opinion after you do something. They never come to me first, right? Why would they? You talked about um I guess it was 2 weeks ago or last week, whatever. People were asking about the future, not the future, like is Micro Four Thirds or OM system doing enough, right? Or how are they going to? I don't know. I can't remember the wording. But basically, I said, I think the conversation was in the context of is the future viability of Micro Four Thirds and OM systems, not so much that they're not doing enough now, right? Because I'm very happy with the OM3 and everything it can do. And no other camera system really offers me the kind of features and things that I use all the time in size and weight, all the things we love about Micro Four Thirds. I think I'm very content with the way it is now. And can they do more? Like one of the things, like your most recent video was about uh, the autofocusing. Like you were getting a 67%, 60 or 70% hit rate on your human face detect, right? And then, of course, my email and Facebook and everything is flooded with questions about, Robin Wong's video was saying that the OM3 is struggling with human eye face detect, and what has been my experience. And because remember a couple of years ago when you were talking about the low light capability of the OM1, and then I had to do a video because everybody starts inundating me about the same thing. Like, Robin says the OM1 has terrible autofocus. What do you think, right? So I'm like, um, I made that video and I actually verified or came up with the same results you did, right? But I tested it in a little more pragmatic way that I could demonstrate and repeat. And I did all these numbers and all of that. Ultimately, I'm still very happy with the autofocus. You know, you're not, but that's okay, right? Um, but so more recently, you talked about this in your when you talked about the OM3 the other day, and now I'm getting questions about that. So let me tell everyone here, my audience, my experience so far. I don't do a lot of street shooting and take pictures of people. So I don't have just like I don't do a lot of not studio, but concerts and shoot in low light like you do, right? So your experience and your workflow and the kind of photography that you do is very different than what I do, right? So that's why you recognized these shortcomings very quickly. Whereas for me, it's like I don't have any problem, but I never shoot, I never shoot in low light concerts of people, and I don't do a lot of street shooting, right, and take pictures of people. So I don't run into those situations, but I will tell you guys my experience so far with the human face detect. And I haven't I may do a test like I did a couple of years ago with the low light that basically confirmed what Robin said, but my experience is similar to what you were talking about in your video, where sometimes it's out of focus just a little. It looks good in EVF, right? But it's a little out of focus. Because I did a photo shoot Sunday of a couple of ladies, and I took 138 pictures using the human face detect. And 28, 28 of those shots were out of focus, either very slightly. Most of them were just very slightly out of focus, like you showed in your video. Because I watched it yesterday, I think, or this morning. Anyway, very slightly out of focus. It looked fine in EVF, but yeah, when I got home, I was like, yeah. So 28 pictures out of 138. So if you do the math, that's 80%. So 80% perfect focus, right? But 20% in that particular scenario, just a little out of focus in situations that I don't think it should have missed. It should have got it. Some of the shots I can understand why the OM3 missed focus because the girl was behind a lot of flowers, right? Her face wasn't fully, it wasn't just there, right? It was kind of obstructed. The view of the face was obstructed either with her hands or with flowers and branches and things. I'm like, okay, I counted those anyway, right? And I was using all focus points and human detect, and I got an 80% hit rate. But that's just one outing with two people, but one outing over about an hour and a half. I don't know what it's gonna be like if I were to 'cause I'm gonna do 2 more this weekend, and I'm gonna keep track. I'm gonna keep track this time. And then I might try and do a more standardized testing methodology. I mean, it's hard to do those things, but that's what I found. So I found pretty much what you found, Robin. Just I was at 80% for this one particular shoot. Now, the Sony, I also brought the Sony A7R5 with me because I'm testing out a lens that PT Artisan sent me. And believe it or not, now the A7R5 has the latest AI human, you know, they made a big deal about it. And everybody knows Sony has the best autofocus. So everybody kind of tends to agree that it has the best. I was shooting the same subject. I shot almost side by side, basically side by side. My OM3 with the 12 to 40 Pro and the A7R5 with the new 75 millimeter f2 lens. And the Sony, when I was using all points, I forget what they call it. They call it wide or something. They have a different name for just selecting all the points in the frame, right? I was using all points with human detect, and it was struggling. It was struggling to lock on to the face. It kept locking onto the branches or the flowers. It was like picking up things except the face, right? I don't know. Let me see if I can show you an example. So I didn't push the shutter button because I could see the little green blinkies everywhere, the focus dots everywhere except on the face. So I didn't take any pictures that were out of focus, with the Sony. So what I did was I left the human eye detect on and I switched the camera to a box, right? I forget what they call it, the autofocus box. And then I would have to use the joystick to move the box around. Ooh, there's an update here for Photolab. Are they going to support the OM3? All right. Good news. OM3 is now supported directly in Photolab. So I'm going to update that. All right. So let me see. Where's my think it's here. No, yeah, it's in here. No, 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 no. Yeah, this is it. So, yeah, these are perfectly fine. Tack sharp, right? Of course, these are the ones I picked. Let me these are the ones where it missed focus. This is exactly what you were talking about, Robin, is, when you look at it from here, it looks fine, in the EVF. But then when you punch in, it's like, ooh, it's off. So 28, that's the number that says here, in case you can't read that. 28 images. But this is one of the scenarios, right? Where uh, I missed focus a lot, mostly in here. But this, I'll cut any camera some slack in situations like this where the face is kind of covered and obstructed and you got all this distracting stuff all the way around. I can cut the camera some slack on the autofocus. But the Sony camera was doing the same thing. It was locking on everything around this person, but not on their face, even though I had human face detection on. So I switched to a smaller box, and then I would move the box up, down, and around to the face, and then it would lock on. And when I did that, Sony was 100% locked on the eye, 100% locked on the eye. When I switched it to the smaller box, not a single point, but just to like a box like this, and I would move the box like this to wherever her face was, and bam, the Sony was 100%. The OM3, I never did that. I stayed with all focus points on the OM3. So that's why I got shots like this where it locked on to here, even though the face is here, but I can cut it some slack because the face is a little bit obstructed here and she has very dark skin. So it's having trouble picking her up here. And then here's a very close subject with high contrast, right? Uh, so all of these are missed. Out of 138 pictures, these are the ones that missed. Like this one, even the Sony was having problems when I had all points picked. Now, if I take the OM3 and switch to a smaller box with face detect, would I get more keepers that way? I don't know. I didn't do that when I was doing these pictures because OM3 doesn't have a joystick, right? So it would be harder to move that focus box around quickly to take these kind of shots. It does have the D-pad, but I find the joystick is faster, right? So that's why I didn't do that on the OM3 because I didn't have a joystick to move the box around quickly. Now I could have used my thumb to move the point around quickly, but in the heat of the moment, I just I didn't do all the things because I'm not a portrait guy, right? If I shot portraits more often with the OM3, I would have a workflow either using my thumb or getting really good with the D-pad. Uh, because right now I have my D-pad set up to do other functions. I don't have it set up to move the focus point around. So I'd have to reprogram the camera button settings, and I would have had to do a lot of things to be able to smoothly move that focus box around. Uh, but yeah, but yes, a shot like this, it shouldn't have missed, but it's a little bit off because there's two phases here very clearly. Oh, I'm sorry. There's two phases here very clearly. It should not have missed this, but it missed it just a little bit. But when I'm looking at it like this, I'm like, oh, that's not bad. This is another photographer that was there. That's their camera. Uh, yeah, it missed these. It should not have missed these. So anyhow, that is that is what I found using that. Now, I just saw your comment here that maybe it was the 7 Artisans lens. It's a TT Artisans, but that's neither here nor there. Uh, it could be. It could be. If I go back out with my 55 millimeter Zeiss, which is a native Sony lens, right? Maybe the face I detect would be 100% and wouldn't have any problems locking on. I don't know. I didn't go there to test autofocus. I was going there to get pictures of this lady and her daughter. Um, but I'll have to do some testing with a native lens for the Sony and the OM3 and try again and see if I can actually reproduce the problem, right? Because that's always the case, right? If you can consistently reproduce an issue, then it's an issue. It's a real issue versus, oh, I was shooting out one day and I missed all these shots. I mean, there's too many variables there, right? It's like, but I believe I know exactly what you're talking about. The shots that I showed where it just slightly misses sometimes. When I don't think it should be missing anything. Also, I was shooting in continuous autofocus. Not continuous. I was shooting in continuous shutter mode sometimes, but I was definitely in continuous autofocus with face detect and all points selected on the OM3. I'm gonna try and narrow it down to a smaller box and shoot that way this weekend, see how it does. And then I'll bring my Sony and use a native lens, and then I can compare side by side. Uh, just to get a little more seat of the pants type experience. And then once I got sort of that how it feels and what I think, then I can approach because you have to define the problem first, right? Before you can develop a methodology to test for. Because if I just start testing the camera without any idea what the problem is, I'm not going to come up with a good methodology to test it. So I have to at least identify the problem in a very specific way, and then I can come up with a methodology to test that problem and see if there's an issue there. And then how does it compare, say, to my 28.7 or 5? And, using the same methodology, which one is going to perform better? And then everybody has to take that into context. It's just one guy, flawed. I'm a very flawed person, right? I'm a human being trying to test, you know, these very advanced cameras. The OM3 and the A7 or 5, these are, top tier advanced consumer level cameras. Uh, but yeah, I'll definitely take this into account. Uh, I'll try and use a native lens. I do have I have two native lenses for the Sony. That's it. Everything else, I'm just not investing into that system. And then, is M43 doing enough? Oh, that's right. What it was. My topic was why M43 is struggling. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't remember. Looking at a string of actual events that happened. I'll have to watch that live stream. I didn't watch that one. I catch up to him eventually. But I think, yeah, why is M43 struggling? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's really frustrating how good these cameras are that it's not taking like at least a quarter of the market. I don't expect it to do half. I mean, to take half the market might be asking a much, but a quarter, 20%, 25% of the market, especially the consumer market, should be Micro Four Thirds because it's doing 99.999% of what everybody wants to do with their photography. There's basically no limit to what a Micro Four Thirds camera can do, and does it well in a very compact, portable, durable, weather sealed, if you want, kind of way. It's it's why I prefer the system. Anyhow, but that's two fanboys talking, right? Robin Wong and me, we're big fans of Michael Porter, so of course we're gonna say that. Uh, but the market has spoken. The world wants full frame. Or let me rephrase that. They want Sony, Canon, Nikon. They don't want Micro Four Thirds. And I can't explain it. I have to watch your live stream, see what the feedback was. At the moment, OM System and Panasonic combined is less than 5%. I think they can get at least 10 to 15, they will be very safe, yeah. Yeah, 10 to 15% will be amazing, right? When you're at less than 5 as it is. I did see a very, good report though on, Digital Camera World that the OM3 is the number 1 selling camera right now, like at Map Camera. Might be just one store. And I know my local dealer said the camera's selling well. He's had to put in 3 reorders of the OM3 for his store to, fill the orders that he got for that camera. So he got his initial order, sold out, ordered again, sold out, ordered again. He's on his 3rd order, uh, of OM3s. So it's doing well, which is good to hear. Um, and he said, "Yeah, it's selling much better than he expected." Given the price point, right? It's not a cheap camera. I like the way, what's his name, Eric or yeah, Eric Jennings said it. The air gets pretty thin at $2,000. The air gets very, very thin. There's a lot of good cameras at 2 grand, right? Uh, Man, what could I do with $2,000? I know I can't cut a tree down for 2,000. I can tell you that much. Oh, that was brutal. Anyway, talking about my personal stuff, I had to cut some trees down. That was not cheap. Not even the whole tree, just some branches. That was a lot. Steve, I got the 12 to 100 f4 Pro setter. Absolutely no regrets. It's not, yeah, that's an awesome lens. I've never heard one bad thing about that lens. Never. Um, I was thinking about getting that lens if I did more events because right now I'm swapping between the 12 to 40 and the 35 to 100. I have the 35 to 100 2.8 from Panasonic. When I do events, I swap between those two, but I only do events like towards the holidays, like Thanksgiving, Christmas. I never get any event work during the year. I don't do weddings, so springtime is all about weddings. Nobody's having office parties. It's wedding season. In summer, it's too hot to do events, right? Uh, so I have to wait till frickin' fall and winter for New Year's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving, but New Year's and Christmas. But they start partying, they start to party like in November. But it'd be nice to be able to not have to swap lenses. The 12 to 100 would cover it. And it's at f4, which is perfect for event photography because a lot of times you're taking pictures of couples, right? And one is standing back a little bit. If you're at f2.8, the person that's just standing back, just one shoulder length, like 4 inches back, they're out of focus at f2.8. But at f4, much better. And as a consumer, M43 like the G9 II is too big and 1.4 primes are too expensive. You can get a full frame body half the size and 1.8 primes are cheaper. Yes. I wouldn't say they were half the size, but they're small, right? Like the Sony A7C II is very small camera. And you can put like a $500 prime on there. That's a 1.8 or I'm sorry, 2.5. The 51.8s are kind of big, but let's take like the Canon R8 for example. Canon R8 with a 50 millimeter prime is a $200 lens. The Canon R8 you can buy for about 13. So for 1,500 bucks, you can get Canon R8 with 50 millimeter prime. You can add on another 35 and 16 or 24. You can add on 2 or 3 more primes and still be around $2,000, right? Uh, and have a relatively compact, lightweight system. What are the trade-offs though, right? Uh, Certainly not autofocus. Canon autofocus, I have an R8 up there. Um, this is my R8, right? And I have the 24 to 105 kit lens. Cheap lens, 300 bucks. But I would argue even this is pretty compact. Not bad. Let me get my, OM3 here. Take off the flash. I mean, it's hard to tell in a stream. Here's my OM3 with with the strap on it. Anyway, I mean, there there's not that much difference between the 2, and, you know, I can get the Canon R8 with 3 or 4 with, let's say, 3 primes, 1.8s or whatever, maybe they're 2.8s, but, I can get 3 really nice primes for about the same price as body only. Well, let's say, the OM3 with a 12 to 45 f4 is $2,300, and I can get a Canon R8 with 3 or 4 primes for about the same money, and it's basically the same size and weight, so I get it. But, uh, in terms of features, right, the Canon R8 is not weather sealed, right? It's a plastic body and doesn't have IBIS, right? It has a pretty fast electronic shutter, 40 frames per second, but there's a lot of rolling shutter. It's not a stack sensor, so you're gonna get rolling shutter effects. Uh, Whereas the OM1, OM3 can do up to 50 frames per second with virtually no rolling shutter problems. The OM3 also has Pro Capture and Live Comp, a bunch of computational stuff, Grad ND, Live Grad ND. The R8 has in-camera stacking, pretty impressive actually. And but the R8 doesn't have, obviously wouldn't have high-res shot mode because there's no IBIS. What else? I mean, there's a lot of things you have to take away from the R8 that the OM3 can do, right? But that said, right? I don't think I don't think a lot of the things that the R8 is lacking, I wouldn't consider deal breakers, right? Um, Problem is, I want to go out and do birding. This is where you run into the problem is with telephoto lens, with full frame systems, even APS-C systems, right? Uh, the lenses get humongous at that point, and that's where I run into the problem. And that's why the OM3, for all the compromises that I'm going to have in image quality, in low light, and all of that, it's not worth it to me to use full frame. I'd rather have a little bit of compromise on image quality and have the versatility of the OM3, being able to go from doing portraits to doing birds in flight, doing live composite, to do it has an intervalometer built in. I think the Canon has that now too. Sony didn't have it until their most recent models. A built-in intervalometer, something simple like that. But yeah, PhotoZen, I do really appreciate perspective of many consumers when they go into a camera store. They don't see the fine print. They don't see the fine print. They look at the checklist of things, right? And it's like full frame just has this appeal, right? That it's better than APS-C and Micro Four Thirds, certainly better than bridge cameras. It has this, and it's justified. You will get better low light performance, but by how much? 1 or 2 stops, right? Maybe 2 stops difference. But how often am I shooting in low light? If you're shooting in low light all the time, then yeah, definitely you wanna get a full frame camera. But if you know you're shooting low light all the time, you probably know you're probably already familiar with cameras in general and the kind of results you're gonna get with various camera models, different sensor sizes, different lenses. But for me, uh, yeah, you know, I buy these other camera systems because 'cause I'm just curious. I have terrible gas, and I wanna get familiar with them and see what all the fuss is about, fear of missing out kind of thing, and I do a lot of testing, and I have the privilege of getting lenses practically for free, right? Because manufacturers send them to me, so I'm just buying the body usually, and I might buy 1 or 2 primes, or in this case, I bought what is that? A 24 to 105 for my Canon. This is probably all I'll ever buy as far as lenses go on this camera. Okay. Uh, PhotoZen. I'm sorry, PhotoZen. It wasn't you that asked me about that. It was this other person. So I hope that makes sense. My perspective on this. I just feel like the Micro Four Thirds is a much more versatile system, and it's a better fit for the kind of photography that I do, much more so than any other camera. And I've tried them all. I've tried them all. I was a Nikon shooter initially, and they're all great cameras, but ultimately, I'm just a huge fan of Micro Four Thirds for all the reasons we talk about. Uh, okay, so let me get to this. So photos and who's the GFX 100? Just basically enthusiasts, right? Someone that's maybe they're already they just want a street camera that with 100 megapixels. You know, it's purely for the photo enthusiasts, people that just really enjoy photography. They love the form factor of a rangefinder style, having the bit the bit depth and resolution that a 100 megapixel sensor, excuse me, has to offer, and they have the money, right? Because it's definitely discretionary money type purchase. This is not a like I need to have that camera kind of purchase. Nobody needs the FX 100. Nobody needs. This is this is purely about for the enthusiast that wants those kinds of that kind of technology when they go out and shoot. Um, just because nobody needs that. And on Van here, good to see you. Bruckham, I'm sorry, or Brucham. Don't mean to mispronounce that. Good to see you. Let's see. Says I bought the half case with built-in grip for my own three. I'm very happy with it. Thank you for. Oh, great. Yeah, this is a great little grip, right? Let me take this strap off because I'm gonna knock something down. I got this strap for $7. Awesome. Not on sale anymore, but it's only $10 when it's not on sale. It's a little messy here, this part here, but that aside, the clips here are really thick. This is because I've had these clips break on me. These clips are really thick, really well made, for a thin strap. 'Cause a lot of times when you buy a thin strap that's cheap, you get these crappy clips, and I had a clip break and I dropped it. And that was luckily the camera was fine, but uh anyhow, yeah, this grip is awesome. Well, I talked about this in the last stream, so I won't get into it again. But I'm glad you're happy with it too. I'm very happy with it really makes a difference when you're holding the camera this way, right? I mean, I always hold the camera with two hands, but when you're not taking a picture and you're just holding, you can hold the camera down like this. If you'd like to use wrist straps and things, then you can just hold the camera like this with your wrist strap, you know. Okay. Marco says, "You bought an R?" Yeah, yeah, I bought it. I bought it a while ago. Not that long ago. Yeah, I've had it. I've had it for a bit. I just, I bought it mainly because a lot of students have Canons. So, uh, I know. I I I don't know. I can't say I regret getting it because it's a nice camera, but I've always wanted one that came out. So is that combined with uh, I wanted to get more familiar with Canon cameras, and it was cheap enough. In the mid 1970s, I was the only person enrolled in a professional photography program at Cecil College who used an OM1. Not in the 1970s. You're in your 70s. People use Nikon or Pentax, Olympus, small market ship back then. Wow. Okay. Really, Pentax? That's got to be even a smaller market than OM Systems or Micro Four Thirds, right? Yeah, that R8, I got that before I knew about all the tree stuff and or some other things happened. I don't think I even have 100 clicks on this. Well, I might. One shot, one photo shoot with Ellie, that's like 100 clicks. It's a nice little camera. Really comfortable though. This is very similar to the Canon RP, which I could have got for half the price, but this has the new autofocus and all of that. And this is on par with the Olympus EM1 Mark III in terms of comfort in the grip for me. This fits really, really well in my hand. But yeah, it's kind of plasticky and all of that. It doesn't have the same build quality as the good the higher tier, the all-in-one cameras. It's fine. David says in the film days, the Pentax K1000 was an educational manual camera to have. Yep. Yeah, I wonder what those are selling for now. Probably next to nothing. And who knows? Let me just take a quick look. 130 bucks with a lens. Yeah, that makes sense. Great camera though. Just, I just don't have a need for one. I got my OM1 film camera, OM2 film camera, OM2S film camera, and obviously I can't get the OM3 film camera. That's just ridiculous expensive for what it is. And then OM4 Ti didn't see any need to go full automatic because I have some Nikon film cameras that do all that. Yep, yep, yep. All that good stuff. Um, but okay. I think that's all I have for today. So I'll be back on live tonight with four OM ambassadors, and we're going to be sharing tips for birding, macro, and landscape. Really, some top tier photographers tonight. Really, really top of they're at the top of their game in their field. So definitely join me tonight for that. And that's at 7:30. So that's about 8 hours from now. I'll be live tonight with them. So be sure to join me for that. Thanks everyone for being here. Use my affiliate links, help support the channel, become a member, make a donation, all that good stuff. Subscribe, hit the like button, stuff, all that stuff. Uh, every little bit helps. Any way you can help. I always do my best to help you guys. Um, that's why I'm here and I do these live streams on a regular basis because I want to help as many people as I can. So you guys have a great rest of your week. Thanks for being here today, and hopefully I'll see you tonight.